What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of Iceface Reads Mean Tweets. Now, I'm here to address a couple things, a couple of you people out there, a couple of you naysayers who have some mean things to say about Iceface. Now, let's get right into it. Chandler fights like he was in a Van Damme action movie. The problem is that he has a professional fighter in front of him, not a stuntman. Well, I'll actually take this first one as a compliment, because fighting like I'm fighting in a Van Damme movie actually is a feather in Iceface's cap. Now, I would like to point out, you did throw shade at me. You threw stones at me by saying that the problem is there's a professional fighter in front of me and not a stuntman. Now, have I lost more fights in the UFC than I have won? Absolutely. But have I fought the best guys in the world in my weight class? Absolutely. I was a gnat's eyelash away from finishing all three of the guys that I lost to. Now, I'm not worried about taking losses because losses are a common thing in life. So why don't you go back to whatever basement that you're tweeting from and have a great day and watch a couple Van Damme movies, but do it with a smile on your face. Do it with a little more love in your heart. Moving right along. Chandler needs to try to stop breaking his opponent's hands with his face, though. Smiley face with the little stars in the eyes. Now, I will admit, I've taken a lot of damage to my face. Thank God faces heal. Thank God I focus on recovery, sitting in a hyperbaric chamber, taking a lot of anti-inflammatories, icing my face after these fights. Now, do you really think that I am trying to break my opponent's hands with my face? Now, I am not the smartest man in the world. I have been known to make ill-advised yet entertaining decisions while competing in the confines of the UFC octagon for your entertainment. But do you really think, without a shadow of a doubt, that I am actually trying to break my opponent's hands with my face? Stupid. It's a stupid thought, it's a stupid comment, and I refuse it and I reject it, although it is kind of funny, and you did put a smiley face with the stars in the eyes on the emoji, because I know you kids like to use emoji these days, but, so I'll take it somewhat as a compliment as well. But Iceface reads more mean tweets. Moving on. Oh, the J7 says, Michael Chandler is the most overrated fighter in the UFC. Goodness gracious. The most overrated fighter in the UFC. Of all of the thousands of people that are on the roster in the UFC, you're telling me that Michael Chandler is the most overrated fighter in the UFC. You have got to be kidding me. Overrated? Possibly. Overrated a little bit? Probably. Overrated in a lot of people's eyes, but loved by many, adored by many, entertained all of them. Every single time that Michael Chandler steps inside of the cage, I can vouch for this. I'm there with him all the time. Every single time that he steps inside of the cage, I can promise you that he gives 100% of his full being to the competition. Does he make bad decisions? Does he lose fights? Does he lose positions? Absolutely. But overrated, the most overrated fighter in the UFC, you are outside of your mind. But God bless you. And I'll see you at the top anyway. And Michael Chandler always proves that he doesn't belong at the top of the division. Man has fought world-class fighters and only won against don't-want-to-retire fighters. Well, excuse me for my strength of schedule that I have chosen to engage in since coming into the organization. Back up for a world title fight, fighting Dan Hooker, who was number 5 in the world, then fighting Charles Oliveira, who was number 2 in the world, number 3 in the world at the time, then fighting Justin Gaethje, who was number 2 in the world, and then capping off my 5th fight with the number 2 guy in the world, Dustin Poirier, losing many of those fights, okay? 2 wins, 3 losses in the UFC. I get it. I've got to deal with it. I see the record. Iceface sees the record and sees the comments, sees the negativity. But for you to say that he's always proving that he is not a world-class fighter. Now, that is just downright disrespectful. And I would like to invite you to kindly not buy the pay-per-view that millions and millions of people are going to buy next time that Michael Chandler steps inside that UFC octagon. I would love to invite you to go somewhere else, to spend your time doing something else than watching the glorious spectacle that is Michael Chandler competing inside of the UFC octagon. Moving on. That one cut deep. Oh, ridiculous. Chandler is getting owned by everyone. I don't see this guy's appeal. Well, let me tell you what appeal is. Appeal is the drawing near of someone's heart and mind and soul towards someone or something. Now, I can tell you what Michael Chandler's appeal is. He trains extremely hard. He leaves no stone unturned in his preparation. He tries extremely hard. He tries extremely hard in every single thing that he does. Now, a winner, he is not all the time. Trying harder than everyone else, he does. Working harder than everyone else, being more disciplined than everyone else, he does. I think that is what the appeal of Michael Chandler is. However, there are just going to be people out there that just don't like you. Everyone listening right now, use this Ice Face wisdom. If you do not hear anything else that Ice Face says today as he reads these mean tweets that are like a dagger into his heart, if you do not take anything else from this, take this. There's 8 billion people on the face of this earth. 8 billion people that are walking the face of this beautiful world that we get to live in. Many of them are not going to like you. Many of them are going to say, as this dimwit has said, Rand Paul's neighbor is his name, actually. So we know that he has a meme account. Rand Paul's neighbor says, this guy gets owned by everyone. I don't see this guy's appeal. Well, Rand Paul's neighbor, number one, I feel sorry for Rand Paul that you live next door to him, next door to his domicile, where he raises his children and he lays his head at night. Secondly, I don't care if you don't see my appeal. Many people see my appeal. Many people see Michael Chandler's appeal. And as Ice Face is here today to tell you, not everyone is going to like you. Continue to keep moving forward in your course of action, living your truth, running your race, and working right past them. Now, moving on. We got a couple more doozies here. All right. Chandler's fight IQ is lower than my prospect of ever finding a suitable mate. Well, number one, I feel sorry for you that your prospect of finding a suitable mate is so low that you would compare it to my fight IQ, which you are obviously insinuating is extremely low. Well, Chandler's fight IQ is lower than my prospect of ever finding a suitable mate. Well, number one, as I said, my heart goes out to you. I do feel sorry for you. As a man who lives very close to Michael Chandler, who is in love with the woman of his dream, has the woman of his dreams that has 2 amazing children, who loves his family life, who has found himself a suitable mate. And I get to see it every single day. I can tell you right now, it's the greatest thing about Michael Chandler's life. But as Ice Face here would like to tell you, number one, clean up your act if you can't find a suitable mate. Be a better person. Don't send tweets like this with hate in your heart, because that is the surefire way to never, ever find a suitable mate. As a matter of fact, it's a great way to repel them. Now, moving on to Chandler's fight IQ. Now, has he made some mistakes? Absolutely. But therein lies the rub of how Michael Chandler decides to compete inside of the UFC octagon, keeping his foot on the gas, putting pressure on people nonstop, just as though there are punches, knees, kicks, elbows, submissions, and wrestlings being hurled in the direction at the opponent. The spirit and the will to put the pressure on the opponent is also a technique, which will sometimes make said fighter engage in movements, decision-making Mistakes that, yes, might be representative, a well representative of a low fight IQ. However, I believe his fight IQ is right where it needs to be. Now, moving on. Michael Chandler is awesome at blocking punches with his lips. Well, speaking of my lips, speaking of Ice Face's lips, yes, my lips were extremely swollen. Black and blue they were. Bloody they were. Still healing to this day, almost a week later. Spitting blood from said lips. Stitches inside said lips. Yes, Michael Chandler is pretty awesome at blocking punches with his lips. However, at least I was in the arena blocking punches with my lips while you were sitting at home on your couch digging Cheeto crumbs out of your belly button. Now, moving on. Michael Chandler will never be a champion. Not a smart fighter at all. Not championship quality. Well, goodness gracious. Who decided to make you judge, jury, and executioner of the future projections of mixed martial arts in general, and more specifically, Michael Chandler's career? What mixed martial arts royalty pedestal have you been perched upon with your years and years of experience to be able to say that Michael Chandler will never be a champion? That he's not a smart fighter at all. Not championship quality. Now, I'm not getting emotional. I refuse to get emotional because I refuse to let the words of these Twitter fingers from around the world deter my friend Michael Chandler from continuing to pursue his dream. Now, will he never be a champion? We don't know. We don't know what the future holds for Michael Chandler. I can tell you this as his friend. He's trying extremely hard every single day to get exactly what he wants, and that is to become the number one fighter in the world. Will he ever do it? We don't know. We don't know, but that's why we love this sport. We don't know. But we will continue to try to find out. He's not a smart fighter at all, you say. Well, he sure was smart by joining the UFC. He sure has made some great decisions inside and outside of the octagon to get a couple wins, to become probably the most exciting, most electrifying fighter on the face of the planet. Not championship quality, you said. Well, we don't know. I know he lives like a champion. He tries to live like a champion. Sometimes the cards are going to fall. The deck's going to be stacked against him. The chips are going to be stacked against him. He's not going to win every single fight. But I can tell you this, he's going to try. Maybe he's not championship quality, but neither are you. Hell of a comeback, isn't it? That's right. Neither are you. You want to sit at home? You want to say these mean things on Twitter? Well, that's not what champions do either. So, it takes a not championship quality person to know a not championship quality person. And you're mean. Last one. This is it. I'm getting too emotional. Chandler can't get out of his own way. He has talent. He refuses to use it. He has a horrible gas tank. All right. Okay. Now you come at the guy's gas tank? It's bad enough. It's bad enough for talking about technique, talking about wins and losses, talking about losing money, talking about getting hurt, talking about stitches and bleeding, talking about tears. You want to come after a guy's gas tank? I can tell you this. As a friend of Michael Chandler, I spend tons of time with him. He works extremely hard on that gas tank. I can tell you this. He works harder than any other mixed martial artist I've ever seen. Now, is that going to guarantee success? Heck no. Heck no. As you can see by his record in the UFC, you want me to pull it up for you? Maybe we can do a little picture inside of a picture right here, okay? I lost to Charles Oliveira, I lost to Justin Gaethje, and I lost to Poirier. Now, yeah, he lost those fights, but he gave it his dang all. He left his heart out there for everyone to see. He left his blood, sweat, and tears in there. Got stitches, probably lost a couple bit of great brain cells. You know what coming in a man's gas tank, man? Coming out his heart. Coming in a man's gas tank comes out of heart, man. He works extremely hard. You have no idea. Kevin, with some numbers after your name, who cares? Kevin, you have no idea what it's like to be locked inside of a cage with another man who's trying to take your head off in front of millions of people under bright lights. Millions of people watching. You know what that does to a man's heart rate? You know what that does to the beating of a man's heart? See, sometimes you forget that we're just mere mortals. Sometimes, Kevin, you forget that we're just human beings inside the cage. You think that we're animals just competing inside of an octagon under a specific rule set and 4-ounce gloves and a mouthpiece and a jockstrap protected our family jewels. Sometimes you forget that the fighters, the mixed martial artists, just wake up every single morning. They put their dang pajamas on, one leg at a time, just like you. They got doubts, fears, insecurities. They got problems. They got relationship problems. They got doubts and fears and insecurity problems. They got demons that they're fighting. You want to come after a man's gas tank? You know, question is hard work. Listen, I can tell you this right now. As I said earlier, Ice Face has got a little bit of wisdom for you. Number one, not everyone's going to like you. Number two, bump what they think. Bump what they think. Keep on moving forward. I can't do this anymore. These words have pierced my heart and struck a chord that I did not expect to get struck today. I think it's safe to say I've been struck enough in my life. It's bad enough I got to read mean tweets, so this might be the only time Iceface ever reads mean tweets because I don't know if I can absolutely handle it. I was having a hell of a day, man. I was having a great day. Sun shining, but oh, y'all are mean, man. God, be nice to somebody today, man. Walk on. God bless, man. I'll see you at the top.